Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the Backfield Buzz podcast. Cody Wiles, Logan Glover, Andrew Foster here, as always, keeping you up to date with all things NFL. And if you wanted to, stay in the know with the National Football League, subscribe, give a like on the video if you like it. We're going to be here all throughout the year, especially with this type of video. We're going to be doing this every single week, guys. This we're going to try. Hopefully, we can do it.
Yeah,
Um, Today is our week one fantasy and betting preview. We're going to, like I said, try to do these to keep you guys covered throughout the year. We're going to talk about some guys, that we would sit at every position, as well as some of our favorite prop bets, spread bets, maybe even a parlay or two. We'll see. And what we're doing today is maybe we'll do a couple futures since it's week one. All right, before we get into it though, Glovesy, how you doing?
feeling pretty good. Been going for walks today. It's making me feel a little getting out of the house. Wiles got me on the walk grind, and it's nice getting a little fresh air every now and then. But I'm feeling good. I'm hyped for tomorrow. I'm ready.
I could see in your attire that
Yeah.
you are ready for Thursday
Oh
night
yeah.
football. I'm hoping you got a bet or two for that game. I would hope that you bring something to the table for Thursday night football. I didn't touch it because I was hoping that you would
I
provide
got I
some.
got I got one leg from that game that I think is pretty solid.
All right, Frosty, how you doing?
I'm okay. That intro kind of threw me off, so I'm a little bit still trying to recover from that intro. I'm not good with change.
What the hey, how you
Hey.
doing?
Yeah, that was
Oh
it
yeah,
threw me
fair.
off.
I'm trying to be more personable.
Hey. You gotta get in touch with the people.
Exactly. I want to see how they're doing. I ask you guys how you're doing. Got to see how the fans are doing. Okay. All right. Let's save the fantasy for last. How about let's start with oh no, sorry, let's leave the betting for last. Let's start with the fantasy. Um let's go to RBs. So I know there's a bunch of, different combinations of leagues, how many flex spots you have, how many people in the league. We're gonna try to, I mean, we're not gonna sit here and tell you, yeah, start Christian McCaffrey, start this and that, start CD Lamb, right? So we're gonna try to people who are on the bubble to some degree in generally most leagues. And that's what we'll go with. So Frosty at RB, who are you hammering? Who are you starting this week?
My start this week is Zamir White against the Chargers. We have heard Antonio Pierce say he wants to get him a ton of early down work. I think this game is just going to be two teams that are going to both try and set the tone against each other. It's just going to be a run fest, and I think volume is going to be king for Zamir White in this game.
I do love me some Zamir White. I definitely wanted to grab him in most of my leagues. My starter running back is going to be Devin Singletary against the Vikings. We've been very vocal about our hate for Daniel Jones on this podcast. It's very clear where we stand on that debate. He's not going to be that good. They're going to be forced to rely on the run game. The Vikings defense isn't excellent, especially against the run the interior of the D line. Nothing too special. I think Singletary is going to be leaned on a lot, especially with a changeover in the receiver core and Daniel Jones not looking too productive in the preseason. I'd look to them for them to lean on the run game.
Yeah, I will say I like Singletary and White as starts, but who I like even more? Najee Harris against the Atlanta Falcons. This might come out of left field, but it's the Arthur Smith revenge game, and we all know what he wants to do with his offense, and that's pound the football, baby. And he probably wants to outmuscle the former team that fired him. I like it because Jalen Warren has been banged up. We'll see how much role he has in week one. And Atlanta was in the top half of the league in RB fantasy points allowed and rushing TDs allowed last year, but they were a bit worse in just allowing rushing yards in general. So the combination of the revenge game plus just, I'm assuming they're going to be running a lot of double tight end sets with Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington, who they drafted. I think they're just going to want to pound it and give me Najee, especially with Warren not being 100%. So that's a couple of the guys we like at RB. I like all of them. How do you guys feel about Najee?
I mean, it makes sense. I think Arthur Smith, maybe if there's Cordell Patterson rushing yards, maybe start him because you know how Arthur Smith likes to use the less used running back, the one you don't expect him to use. But no, I think Najee's in a good spot against the Falcons.
Yeah, I agree with it. I almost had Jalen Warren as my sit this week, so I fully agree with it.
We're on the same page. All right. Well, who is your sit then?
My sit this week is the entire Cowboys backfield. It's a tough matchup against Cleveland. They were a top defense last year. And this running backs by committee are terrifying for fantasy, especially early on in the season. Any Cowboys running back, I'm sitting this week without question.
I went a very similar route for almost an identical reason. I went with both the Commanders running backs because we have no idea what that split's going to be. We have no idea who's going to get more carries, who's going to get more touches. And they're playing the Bucks, running right into Vita Vea, not exactly a recipe for success. So I really don't like any of the Commanders running backs. Sit them, wait till you see what the split is, see who you can rely on. If like Ryan Robinson takes all the carries, then you're going to keep sitting Austin Eckler and vice versa. So I think I'd wait to see what that split's going to look like for the rest of the season.
Man, RBs just early in fantasy weeks are just like it's such a turnover, especially with the injuries. Like you will see a bunch of claims and drops at the RB position. So I hear where you guys are coming from. Okay, you guys might call me crazy though. I believe one of you guys has these guys in a league. Maybe Glover, you have him too. I'm sitting Travis Etienne against the Miami Dolphins. I am sitting at Travis Etienne. Okay, let me make the case. Let me make the case before you guys get mad at me. Now like if you have the replaceable RB to if you have the RB depth, like if Etienne's your only guy, then it's kind of hard to make the case. But in general, Doug Peterson has already made comments about wanting to take some load off Etienne. Even last year, we saw Tank Bigsby take some goal line work away from ETN last year. So, how much more is he going to be taking this season? Also, Miami is one of the best teams in the league at defending the run. They were top 10 in rushing yards allowed, average RB fantasy points allowed. Now, Christian Wilkins, sorry, is out of that D line. So maybe you can expect some regression, but still a solid unit. And my reasoning for this is Miami just could get up on Jacksonville and they're not going to be able to run the ball and stay balanced if they get down, right? So again, with Peterson saying he wants to take some work away from ETN, don't know if that's going to be in the pass game, run game, whatnot, or goal line work, which was already taken away from him last year to some degree. So I don't know, just maybe it's not a full sit, but maybe it's just like sprinkle some cautious onto the ETN. Like I wouldn't be expecting him to go crazy. But maybe that's just me. Frosty, I believe you have. We just did a dynasty draft. Everybody, we're all trying dynasty out this year, and Frosty at the 2-3 turn, honestly, is pretty good value for ETN. But he's got him as well. So I mean, are you gonna listen to me? Or are you gonna sit him?
So I'm not gonna lie to you. I have ETN in all three of the leagues that I'm in right now. So I
That
don't think I
great?
can listen to you. I'm really high on ETN this year, but I see where you're coming from specifically with this week. The
Yeah,
Dolphins defense and the Dolphins, honestly, I think the Dolphins offense is a bigger concern for ETN than the Dolphins defense is.
exactly.
Because like you said, the track team over there, if they get out front, Trevor Lawrence is making 50 pass attempts.
Yeah. I think the reason I'd feel a little comfortable with ETN is because of his receiving work. Tank Bigsby may take away goal line work. He's not touching the receiving game. That's all ETN. So I imagine that even if the Dolphins get up big or anything, ETN will still have a solid amount of receptions to keep his floor relatively high, which I think is like I wouldn't expect a great game, but I think he still has a solid enough floor that you can start him if you don't have any other options.
See, and that's where the concern is. Peterson didn't really say like where's the cut coming from. So I would assume it would be in the running game with
Yeah.
maybe just Bigsby and they've upgraded a little bit in that running back room as well now. So we'll see, we'll see. All right, let's move over to the wideouts where honestly I have kind of another real hot take sit, but I feel like this one's a bit more justified. But Glover, who are you starting? Who are you starting?
I am starting Adonai Mitchell against the Texans. It's yeah, I know you're not gonna like that, but here's my thinking on this is Michael Pittman Jr. is gonna be taking so much of the presence on that defense. They're gonna be so focused on him. And the Texans DB room isn't the deepest. It's you got Derek Stingley, but he's gonna be matched up with Michael Pittman all game. Josh Downs is banged up, so who knows if he's even gonna play this week. AD Mitchell has been on fire in training camp. He looks absolutely unreal. And I think with the question marks surrounding the Texans DB room behind Stingley, I would look at AD Mitchell to be relied on by Anthony Richardson if Pittman's not available.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I need to make a comment on that, Frosty, before you jump
Yeah.
in.
Oh yeah.
It's I hear where you're coming from. I do. I think I have 80 Mitchell in like four leagues. I'm gonna be honest. I think in all four of my leagues that I've been, I have 80 Mitchell. I know me and you were
Yeah, we've been going back
constantly
and forth on AD
battling
Mitchell.
for him. I'm not sure about week one because honestly, it's probably going to be a rookie on rookie matchup. It looks like Kamari Lassiter is going to be CB2 for Houston, so and he's been getting good reviews as well. So I could see where you're coming from. I just think Indy's going to try to run the ball. Like I think they're just going to want to run the ball crazy amounts. But I can see you where it's Stingley and Stingley's going to be on Pittman all night. So I honestly would sit Pittman to some degree. Like I would be cautious about Pittman in general, but I can see where you're coming from. But hopefully he doesn't have a good day.
I will say if he was healthy, I would say Josh Downs would be a start here. I'm I just I, I find it hard to start AD Mitchell in his first game
Yeah.
to put him as a start. That's really my only problem with it. I think the skills there. I just want to see him do it
And
in an actual regular season game.
we'll say the reports and Anthony Richardson is appearing a bit more raw than people were hoping. That's the buzz. That's what it looks like. So we'll see. And A Rich is going to want to run the ball as well. So we'll see. We'll see. But I can hear you, Glover. I can hear you. Of course, you got to come for the Texans. Like we're just starting these
Had
things.
to just go week one right into it.
Even though I have eight, it's the classic conundrum. But I have this guy in like three leagues, but he's going up against my team.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, all right, Frosty, who you liking this week?
My start this week is Chris Godwin against Washington. I think Washington's secondary is still bottom tier in the league, and I still think Chris Godwin's the second best playmaker on that offense. I think they're going to pass like crazy on Washington, at least in the first half, before they have to just run the clock out. I think this is going to be a big rebound year for Godwin after a bit of a disappointing year last year, and I think this is where it starts and a good matchup against Washington in week one.
I like that. I got Godwin in our dynasty league, and I'm hoping he has a big week so I can trade him off because I'm gonna after the draft I realized I was in a rebuilding year. And my team's young and ready to rebuild already.
Man, I'm coming around on Tampa Bay. I don't know what it is. I'm just like I can't remember where we had them in our NFC South predictions. I believe I had them second, which would make more sense. But like I think there's a world where Atlanta and Tampa Bay can make the playoffs in a weaker NFC. So, would you be concerned about Rashad White then, Frosty?
A little bit, yeah. I'm concerned about Rashad White in general. I don't know if he's a sit this week because I still think just the sheer volume that he's going to get because I think they're going to be up big in that game. In the second half, he'll probably get 15 carries alone in the second. So I wouldn't say I'm worried about him, but over the course of the year, I'd be a little bit worried about him maybe having some competition for his job.
All right. Well, okay, Glover, you were talking about when you took Singletary about Daniel Jones. Okay. Daniel Jones should not mess this matchup, right? Against the Vikings. I'm taking Malik Neighbors. I'm starting Malik Neighbors. Daniel Jones hopefully cannot mess this up. Minnesota was in the top five in wide receiver fantasy points allowed, receiving TDs allowed, and receiving yards last season. And they probably have the worst DB room in the league. At least cornerback. They probably have the worst cornerback room in the entire NFL, guys. Come on. I know Daniel Jones has his shortcomings. I know. But everything out of camp is Neighbors is great. Neighbors is great. I've seen a lot of this guy this preseason. I like him. I liked him in the draft. There's reports saying scouts believe he's better than Marvin Harrison Jr. already. And honestly, I'm not too concerned about Wandale Robinson, Darius Slayton, and Jalen Hyatt taking targets away. Like he should easily be the most targeted receiver. And even if Daniel Jones misses him on a couple, I I think Neighbors is going to at least get one big grab against this god awful Vikings team. And honestly, I think he's in a good position to score as well. So, yeah, come at me.
I
Come at me, bro. Come
I
at me.
actually I was going 50-50 on my wide receiver sit between Malik Neighbors and the guy I chose for my sit.
Wow.
I thought I had him as a sit candidate because is Daniel Jones. They didn't throw a single passing touchdown in all of preseason. That is insane for 3 football games. It doesn't matter if Malik Neighbors gets 10 targets when 7 of them are going to be uncatchable. And I hear you on the Vikings DB room. It's not great, but they did add Stephon Gilmore recently, who isn't what he used to be, but he's still a solid piece. And I like Byron Murphy. Beyond that, it's questionable for sure. But it's not a matchup thing. It's not a down on Malik Neighbors thing. I got him in a league. I love Malik Neighbors. I think he's going to be a stud for years to come. I just can't trust Daniel Jones to hit him with a football.
I, I can't put any. Daniel Jones was the third best quarterback on his own team last year. I can't put any amount of faith into Daniel Jones going this year. I love Malik Neighbors. I think he's going to be an incredible receiver once he gets an NFL quarterback throwing the ball to him.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
We will see. If it's going to happen, it's going to be against the worst DB room in the league. Uh, and honestly, here's what I'm picturing. Okay, walk this path with me. It entertained me a little bit. Like, can you not see Neighbors getting 50, 60-yard grab plus like a couple other catches and a touchdown? Like, can you not? Like, I see Neighbors getting 20
Not the
fantasy
touchdown.
points.
Not the touchdown. I can't see the touchdown. I
Maybe
can
not
see
the okay. You
big
said the
catch.
passing touchdown chat in the preseason. It's not that it wasn't Jones the whole time.
No, but
Okay.
The Giants offense in general isn't great at finishing drives. They had that problem last year too. They were just terrible at just scoring points. Like they
Okay. Well,
didn't score a lot.
the touchdown is the upside because I still think he's gonna be the most targeted guy. At
Yeah.
least he's getting the targets against a bad DB room. That's my
Yeah.
rationale. And then if you get the touchdown on top, then we're golden.
It's also his first career game. Like I can't. Like I've got him in a couple leagues, but I'm sitting him this week. I've got a couple guys I'm starting above him. I can't do it. I can't do it.
All right, fair enough. Then, so who are you not doing it with as well then? You said it was a 50-50 candidate. You left him off. I mean, you got to talk about him anyways as a say candidate. So who do you like or who do you not like?
I went with George Pickens for Pittsburgh against the Falcons. I think it's just a terrible matchup. The Steelers were in on Ayuk till the end, didn't get him. That receiver room is terrible beyond Pickens. There's nobody that even scares you at all. Like Van Jefferson, meh. Roman Wilson, meh. Like I don't care. So when you have a team that's upgraded so heavily defensively, like the Falcons have, they just locked up AJ Terrell. They've got an elite, one of the best safety duos in the NFL. They've got a new defensive-minded head coach coming in, upgrades on the D line for more pressure. It's a terrible matchup for George Pickens. I just don't see any world where he's not blanketed and followed all game by AJ Terrell.
Yeah, I think the exact same thing. I didn't put George Pickens as my sit, but I heavily thought about it, and I think this game might set the tone for a tough year for George Pickens. With
Yeah.
guy, he's gonna get like triple coverage on every single play because you can leave everybody else on the field one on one, and they're not gonna beat you.
Yep.
We'll see. Maybe a Roman Wilson, a Calvin Austin pops, but I was considering it as well. I didn't want to put two Steelers on the list, but it ties into me starting to Najee Harris. I think both teams are honestly just going to want to run the ball like a crazy amount. So even like maybe like a Drake London or Kyle Pitts is might not be the best, but we'll see. It's Kirk Cousins back there now. So I mean, let's okay. Yeah, George Pickens. Well, this Pittsburgh offense, like hopefully it should be better than last year. That isn't saying much, but especially when Canada was there. But all right, Frosty, who are you sitting?
I'm sitting DeAndre Hopkins this week against Chicago. Will Levis and Calvin Ridley looked incredible in the preseason together. I wouldn't be shocked if D Hop ends up being like a 2B this year. I wouldn't be shocked if Tyler Boyd maybe surpasses him or is at least close to him in targets with Will Levis. I don't love D Hop, especially against Chicago. I think they're going to be tough. I don't think Tennessee's going to get a ton going offensively, and there's just too many mouths to feed on this offense for me to really be able to trust D Hop in this situation.
Yeah, it doesn't help that he's also a little banged up too. Like he's coming into this week not fully healthy. Who knows what you're going to get out of him for snaps? Like I think that's probably a safe bet. And because he's been banged up, he doesn't have like he has last season, but he hasn't had as much work in this new offensive system with Brian Callahan
Yeah,
as Calvin Ridley has.
I mean, yeah, this offense isn't going to be good, right? Like this
Yeah.
this team isn't going to be good. So, um, I mean, you got to be in a bit of a deeper league, I think, to be considering starting D Hop regardless. Like, I don't know if he's ever this year going to be one of your top two guys. Like, he'll probably be in contention for a flex spot in most leagues, but you know,
He's a flex play, but he's 83% started on sleeper. That's what they're saying. So I mean, it's definitely a flex. You're not if you're starting DF
yeah,
as a receiver
that's
too.
what yeah,
You're in either a really deep league or you had a rough draft.
Okay, I got another crazy one. I kind of went off the I went off the wall week 1. I don't know what's going on. I'm tweaked out. The season's tomorrow. It starts tomorrow, guys. Oh my gosh, we're here. Um, okay, this one I'm gonna have to ask you guys which one makes more sense between Travis Etienne or sitting Brandon Ayuk. I'm sitting Brandon Ayuk this week. Okay, let me make the case. The Jets secondary, fantastic. They were great against wide receivers last year in fantasy specifically. Guys, they allowed the fewest fantasy points, fewest receiving touchdowns, and fewest receiving yards last season. I mean, they're the definition of shutdown, led by Sauce Gardner, who do you think Ayuk's going to be seeing a lot of? Sauce Gardner. And I know they got the deal done with Ayuk now, but he was out for a lot of training camp. Plus, there's a bunch of targets to go around. And frankly, I think this could be a more Kittle Samuel game, just with more of the middle of the field open because of how good their corners and safeties are. Um, that's the case. I'm sitting Brandon Ayuk. The Jet secondary is fantastic. There's targets to go around. Ayuk's been held out all camp, and Sauce is going to be probably just draped over him all game, if not getting majority of reps. And if it's not him, they got plenty of other guys to attack him. So let me hear it. Is that wild, or did I convince you guys
To me, that's a more reasonable sit than ETN, in my opinion. I think not just the Jets secondary, the Jets defense, like
in
yeah, in the
general?
middle of the field, but they've got a great linebacker duo with CJ Mosley and Quincy Williams. The D line's excellent. Like, it's not a great situation for any of the Niners players, but Ayuk sitting out all camp doesn't help his case. Yeah, I don't hate that one.
No, I really don't hate that at all, honestly. Yeah, when you first say it, it seems ridiculous because
Yeah.
this is a guy that like looked like he was taking the wide receiver one spot away from Debo Samuel last year. But I don't think it's ridiculous to sit him, especially early on in the season when, like you said, he missed so much time. He might not be up to game speed yet, especially against this defense. I like it.
Yeah.
Now I could be proved wrong, but it is probably going to be a good matchup between this Jets defense and 49ers offense. Yes, the linebacker duo is good. I'm just think there's going to be more available for Kittle and Samuel doing their what they do over the middle and Samuel doing all these jet sweeps. Probably Ayuk will, like I could like he could get double digits. But like I'm honestly I don't know if he touch it. So that's where I'm at with Ayuk. That might be kind of a crazy take, but hopefully I don't got Ayuk. I have so many leagues I don't even know who I got. I don't think I got Ayuk. So all right, let's go to tight ends. We'll wrap up with the tight ends here. Frosty, who are you starting? Who you like?
This one's a little bit of a deeper one. I'm starting Ty Conklin against San Francisco.
Okay,
Um,
we're sticking with the Jets and Niners.
I, Going back to this matchup, I think the second pass catcher option for the Jets is still up for grabs. I don't love Mike Williams. I think Ty Conklin could get a lot of work in the like quick passes over the middle, stuff like that. That he could get 6, 7, 8 receptions, even if they're little dink and dunk check down passes. They're gonna add up, especially in PPR leagues. If Ty Conklin is a tight end two on a team and it's a questionable matchup for your tight end one, I would be fully confident starting Ty Conklin this week.
Yeah, that's not bad. I struggled to find like a tight end that wouldn't just be started in general.
It's a
So
bit
like
harder. It's a bit harder with this position
most
to make
I
starts. It
yeah, I go with David Njoku. I expect most people are starting him regardless, but the Cowboys linebackers really nothing special. I know you know that. Like Eric Kendricks is like he's not moving me. Njoku really came on at the end of last year. We'll see if he meshes well with Deshaun Watson this season. And the Cowboys DB room is much more impressive than their linebacker room, which isn't saying much, but I still think Amari Cooper is going to be blanketed a little bit more than Njoku will, which will open up the middle of the field for him to take over. And I think he's a solid bet.
I just
uh,
if DeMarvion Overshown's matched up against him,
I,
then
I knew that was
it's a
coming.
sit. But no, I do see where you're coming from. I think the linebacker room got weaker. I think the secondary is definitely more of a strength for the Cowboys, especially outside on Amari Cooper. So I could see the reasoning behind David Njoku being a start this week.
Okay, okay. We got maybe a generally a starter, a low end starter in general on this list. We got a deeper cut in Tyler Conklin. I love it. I got somewhere in the middle. I think I got a perfect fringe guy. I'm starting Noah Fant versus his old team, like the Denver Broncos. Um, Lockett's banged up. So I don't know how available he's going to be or what his workload would look like in general. And Denver defense isn't good, but they have Patrick Surtain, who should be spending a lot of time on DK Metcalf. I would assume he would just move around with DK, leaving more targets to come to JSN and Noah Fant. Denver allowed the most fantasy points, touchdowns, and receiving yards to tight ends last year. Just to put the cherry on top, if that sounds good to you, and they didn't really do anything to address it, to be honest. So now and Seattle's new OC think they want to air the ball out a bit more this year, guys. So, uh, if if you don't have an elite tight end and you're just kind of wondering what to do, Noah Fant is somebody I really wouldn't mind starting if that's an option. So, what do you guys think about Fant?
I think the key thing is, yeah, Lockett's banged up, and Lockett typically works more of those shorter routes in the middle of the field, and DK Metcalf is going to be draped all over. Like if there's a prop bet for over under tantrums, DK Metcalf was on the sideline while Pat Surtain locks him up all game. I'm taking the over. Like Surtain is going to make that man hate Week 1 football, and especially with Geno Smith throwing the ball, he's not going to be able to pinpoint it into places where DK Metcalf can try and win a jump ball over Surtain. Like it's just not going to work. So I think Noah Fant's a safe bet to work the middle of the field, be the easy option for Geno Smith.
What are the odds we see a rerun of the OBJ against the kicking net on the Giants sideline with DK Metcalf this week?
I think the odds are pretty good. I think the odds are pretty good. I'm really looking to see a DK Metcalf, highlight of him throwing his helmet down on the sideline after Surtain just locks him up.
All right, well, that's enough about DK Metcalf. I mean, we're supposed to be about no Fant, guys. You guys took the time I allotted you to just shit all over DK. I got DK fantasy. I am trying to trade him
Yeah,
though.
you're not gonna trade.
Anyways, okay. Let's move on. Sitting. This again, it's kind of tough with the tight ends, but Frosty, who did you end up coming to a conclusion on?
So I don't know how many people this is their tight end one. I think he'd be around like the fringe guy, but I'm sitting Cole Kmet against Tennessee. I another case of I think there's too many mouths to feed, and Shane Waldron is their new offensive coordinator, and in Seattle he couldn't even support three receivers because JSN wasn't getting targets in that offense. Now there's three receivers, and he's the fourth guy. I really don't. I just can't see a world where Cole Kmet gets any amount of volume in this matchup.
Yeah, I hear you. That's kind of I thought about sitting Rome Odunze this week too. Gonna be honest, guys, because same reasoning, right? This is one of the biggest teams where it's like, let's see how this target share, how let's see how the ladder shakes out. Similar, I mean, the team I like, Houston. It's gonna be interesting to see how these even like somebody like DJ Moore, like he was somebody getting taken decently high. So, and I know Glover's got a lot riding on DJ Moore, money wise, fantasy wise, reputation wise, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Glover's invested in DJ Moore, but it's I would stay away just maybe from the Bears in general, even though they're going up against a bit of a weaker opponent.
Yeah, I do love DJ Moore, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it shakes out, especially in an interesting matchup. I don't mind the Cole Kmet sit. My sit hurts me after our dynasty draft last night. My sit's Kyle Pitts. I was forced to take him after this guy stole Brock Bowers from right under me. So I drafted Kyle Pitts, but I don't like the matchup. I don't it's week 1. We don't know what kind of work they're going to be making for Kyle Pitts in a new offense. We don't know how much Kirk Cousins is going to be targeting him. Is Drake London just going to be the whole offense? How much work is Bijan going to get? A lot of question marks. Also, I had this down before he went with a hamstring injury in practice today, and now he's questionable for the game. I am hating that pick more and more every second. I hated it when I made it,
Okay, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, calm down. I can.
but
This is for anyone wondering. This Glover has been absolutely every chance he could get to rip on Kyle Pitts, and me taking Brock Bowers one pick ahead of him.
oh,
He's truly frustrated by
I
this.
am so annoyed. I had two guys lined up in that round with Lamar and Brock Bowers. They both were taking that round, like two picks before me. But Kyle Pitts is just in a bad spot. I want to see what the offense looks like this year. The hamstring injury does not help things. And the Steelers upgrade their defense. They've got a good pass rush, which is going to make it tough to get the ball out. And Patrick Queen is a good linebacker, a borderline top 10 linebacker in this league. That's where Kyle Pitts is going to be matched up with. And the Steelers secondary isn't very good. So Drake London should be able to get pretty open. I just don't like it. And yeah, I'm not on Kyle Pitts. I'm not on the Kyle Pitts train.
To be honest, the Steelers defense is pretty solid in general. Like the DBs are the weakest point of it, but they got a solid front seven. So like it's fair what you're saying, but I just like um yeah, I had something to say to kind of I lost my track there. I'm so funny that you're just very upset about Kyle Pitts. Oh, here's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I've had Pitts the last 2 years. So year one was pretty good. I was looking forward to it. Completely burned me last year. Have you guys seen Draft Day?
Yes. Like the movie, yeah.
The movie, yes.
Yeah.
Frost, you haven't seen Draft Day.
No, I haven't. It's bad, I know. I know.
Okay, well, for anyone who's listening who's seen it, and Glover, I guess, I don't want to spoil it for Frosty though. It's kind of like
I've seen like 100 different clips on TikTok.
Oh
I,
yeah,
I
okay.
that's what got
it's
me to
already been
watch it.
spoiled.
There's so the GM makes a bit of a shock pick at number one when he gets the pick back, and because he had that little note that was written, take I forget the player's name, take no matter what. I wrote my little note was don't draft Kyle Pitts no matter what, don't draft Pitts.
I I
And
was
in that
never
round, how it fell, I wanted one of Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride, or Brock Bowers. Two of them went before me because there's a big drop off after those guys, man. Like,
I'm on the boat. I've never drafted Kyle Pitts in fantasy. I wanted to. This year I did not want to. I was so afraid of it. I really did not want to take Kyle Pitts. But the way the board fell, the run of tight ends in that round, after that, there's not a single young option. Kyle Pitts is still 23, so I just wanted Brock Bowers, man. I was so hype on I'm on the Brock Bowers hype train. So sick Kyle Pitts.
Frosty, any big Kyle Pitts thoughts? This is a big conversation.
I'm I until he actually shows that he belongs above the basically streamer level tight ends. I think he's a sit. Period. End of story. Until he actually proves because he's burned everybody and their mother in fantasy drafts in the last
Yeah.
2 years.
Yep. I hate it.
Oh, Kyle Pitts. Oh, Kyle Pitts. All right. Well, we have done our fantasy outlook. Let's move over to some bets. What are we tend to, maybe dabble, possibly, maybe in the betting world. So let's look at some of our best bets for this week. Do you guys want to start? What are you guys feeling the most? Like, what are you guys best at? It could be a spread, maybe a prop. I know you guys brought a couple of each. So, what are you guys planting your flag on?
The bet I'm probably the most confident on my list is I'm taking the under 41.5 points between the Vikings and the Giants. I think that game is just going to be bad football. Like, I just, it's not about either team having a great defense. I think the Giants defense is probably the best, like, of the four, like, offenses and defenses in that game. I think the Giants defense is the most standout piece, but I just really don't expect a lot of firepower. You got Sam Darnold versus Daniel Jones. You got like limited, like weaker O lines, weaker run games. Like I just really I'm expecting a low scoring affair or a team to just win like 21-7. Like I just don't expect them to get up to 41 points.
So Glover, I don't know if you checked this while you were looking. Do you know if that's the lowest? I have it in front of me. I'm just wondering if you know.
I don't know if it was lowest, but I was looking at the games going, that's an under. And I just went with that under.
Yeah, so Dallas and Cleveland are worse than them at 40 and a half. Over under for Vegas, LA Chargers is 40 and a half, as well as Patriots Bengals, which
That one made sense. All the
is
places
is
with Bengals.
40 and a half. Other than that, they have one of the lowest unders by far. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a low scoring game.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. Frosty, anything that you're big on?
I think the one I'm most confident is Packers plus 2.5 against the Eagles. I I almost put Packers money line on this instead of, but I'll stick to the points. I really just I'm not convinced the Packers aren't just a better team than the Eagles. This team absolutely fell apart at the end of the year last year, and the Packers consistently got better the longer the year went on last year. I going with the trends, I still think if if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would never. Um, I would I I'd be happy taking Packers money line, but I'll say Packers plus 2.5. I really think the Packers win this game though.
Hey, funny things happen in these non-US football games. That's all I'm saying. So we'll see. I don't know.
Especially with the green on green in Brazil matchup. What could go wrong there? Oh,
All right, mine might come maybe bias. It may be
I
bias.
wonder.
what team are you gonna
Uh,
bet?
I'm going Texans 2.5. They're -2.5 favorites. The Colts are just 0-9-1 in their last 10 opening starts. In their opening games in the season. So feels like a good bet. Houston beat the Colts in Indy last year to end the season to secure the division. So, uh, and there's for you guys who aren't AFC South enjoyers, in general, they there's a lot of beef between this Texans and Colts team. So it's like these teams are ready for it. Like uh EJ Speed's been calling out CJ Stroud. So um we'll see, we'll see. But I think the boys in Houston have something to prove against these guys again for some reason. But it's I think Houston's got it in the bag, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, although there shouldn't really be beef. I mean, the Texans, the Colts allowing the Texans to win that game 2 years ago got them CJ Stroud. They should be loving the Colts, man. They should be all over them.
The fans love the Colts because of that Davis Mill
The Davis Mills,
masterclass.
that was such a crazy
Dave
game.
Davis Mills did the best thing ever for the franchise. And he
Worst
just,
thing for
hey,
his career.
Davis Mills just signed a 1 year extension today to keep
Yeah.
him through next year. There's there could be worse QBs than Davis Mills in the league for sure. I think he's a solid backup. I think
Yeah.
he's really one of the best backups in the league, especially for his age. So, oh, Houston, it's a big year and maybe do you guys have anything else before we go into futures? Anything you guys are loving in week one?
Well, I mentioned off the top I did have a Ravens leg. I'm taking Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. I mean, prime time, first game of the season against the Chiefs. This guy's I've got him. I'm gonna mention him in the futures too, but it's -115 on FanDuel. They ran the ball on the goal line with their running back so much last year with Gus Edwards. Derrick Henry is just gonna get all the goal line work. I really just would be shocked if they aren't trying to flex out their new toy in week one.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I mean, he's just Gus Edwards, but just better.
In every way.
Like if they're handing the ball off at the goal line every time to Gus Edwards, they have to hand it to Derrick Henry every single time they get down there. There's just no other option.
Yeah.
Glover, I'm curious on your thoughts on the over under on this because I've been kicking the tires on taking the under. Do you 47.5 is the line.
Oh, for yards.
No, sorry, for just the under in the game in general. 47 and a
Oh,
half points. I've been kicking the tires on it. What would you tell me? Give me some advice.
it wouldn't shock me. It really 47.5 is a pretty high line. I mean, the AFC Championship game was 17-10. These teams both have really good defenses. They both match up well with each other defensively. I think that's where the best matchup lies. It would not shock me at all if that's the under.
And I know there wasn't like a bunch of turnover. Like that's the one big thing I've been thinking for this game specifically. And I know there wasn't a bunch of turnover in these offenses, but I don't know, first game of the year, like it seems like it could be a potential, you know.
And we mentioned before the Chiefs offense doesn't come out firing in the regular season. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. Like I'm definitely placing a parlay on that game for tomorrow. I might throw in the under with you to as a part of my parlay.
We will see. We will see. All right, Frosty. Anything you're just loving, or do you wanna get to the futures, which I know
I got
we have some.
I got two player props.
Okay,
One of
let's hear
them,
'em.
Raheem Mostert over 43 and a half rushing yards. 43 and a half seems very disrespectful for this guy. He dominated the preseason snaps when him and Tua were on the when Tua was on the field together. Until the team actually shows that they're moving away from him towards Devon Achane, 43 and a half is a ridiculously low number for him. I think he could clear that with ease. And I'm going Jordan Addison under 46 and a half receiving yards. 5 of the 9 games he played without Kirk Cousins, he didn't get it. And I don't trust Sam Darnold to be able to get him the ball with any amount of consistency. The only thing that scares me with that is he could beat that with one reception. That's the only thing that scares me.
Yeah, I think Jordan Addison last year was such a big boomer bust kind of guy. He had a lot of big long catches, which kind of inflated his numbers. And I think he's not going to be able to get that with Darnold. He's not going to be able to. Darnold's not going to be able to hit those long shots the way Kirk was. And I think Darnold's basically going to be zeroed in on Justin Jefferson every single play because he's his safety blanket.
Yeah, like you could consider just fading Sam Darnold as well, and maybe comboing that. I'm trying to pull up Sam Darnold's passing yards line, but it just like you maybe could get messed up by Justin Jefferson just going crazy, but we'll see. Like honestly, like how do you think Sam Darnold, like I think there's still untapped upside in Sam Darnold, but I mean the line is low. For 225 plus yards, he's minus 132. So you're close to getting even money on uh I mean he's plus money for 250 plus. So uh
I don't think there's untapped upside, but I think he can be serviceable. I think he can just be like I don't want to say he's not going to lose you a game because he can lose you a game, but I think for the majority of this year, I think he'll just be like not good, but not absolutely terrible. I think he'll just get a quarterback that's not going to make you make any plays, but he's
it
not going to mess up too much.
it really just feels like a write-off here for them,
Oh yeah,
honestly. Like
Yeah.
tough division, especially because the Bears just really took a step up past them. The Packers took a step up. The whole division is stepping up while they're stepping down. So should just be a write-off here for them, especially everything that's happened this offseason for them as well. So, and
I,
JJ McCarthy's out, like set a year back, let McCarthy learn. It was just a torn meniscus, am I right? Like he
Yeah.
you can walk out of surgery for some torn meniscus, like after meniscus surgery over on some of them. So I don't want to play doctor or anything, but I'm assuming he's not going to just be like shackled up all season, you
no,
know?
but he's not going to get any action, and I think it's
And I
the
think
right.
that's going to benefit him in
Yeah,
general. Like that's my point. Like he should be getting out there like within the season and doing stuff with the team in practice and just getting up. So I just if they can get a top pick this year, um, maybe add to that receiving core if they really want it up there. Probably more so address the defense, especially in a really good corner class. Like I bet you the Vikings really want to snag one of these top guys in the secondary because it's a good secondary class with
yeah,
uh Will Johnson, Ben Morrison, safety Malachi Starks. They could go for a safety as well, but they should be higher, aiming high for, those two corners.
yeah.
I will say this might be because I haven't like looked at the Vikings schedule. This might be the only time that Sam Darnold goes into a matchup as favored with more passing yards. His over under is higher than Daniel Jones. I think it
As it
might be the
should,
only time this season. Sorry?
as it should be.
Yeah, I think this might be the only time that Sam Darnold is the better quarterback in a game.
I think also part of that reason is Sam Darnold's a lot more. He's in a position where he can throw a 5 yard check down to Justin Jefferson. He can break it off for 70 yards. Malik Neighbors maybe can do that, but I'm not betting on a rookie to do that as opposed to the best receiver
But
in the
but
NFL.
they're gonna put neighbors there,
Yes,
not
yes.
anybody else,
No, agreed. But I think I have a lot more faith in Justin Jefferson making a crazy play that shouldn't be for 70 yards as opposed to Malik Neighbors.
for sure. For sure. All right. We're only gonna be doing this for week one. We got some futures. Glover's was pushing the futures train because he's got a lot on the future. So Glover, take us, what are you feeling the most? Because you've definitely probably looked into this more than anybody.
I may or may not have placed a pretty sizable parlay on some futures bets. It's not, I think it's I'll pull it up right now to tell you. There's a lot of legs. Let's just we're not going to beat around the bush. There's quite a few legs on this parlay. Six legs. It's used the profit boost on FanDuel, $5 for 345. But I'll go over the ones I think are just locks. Josh Allen was plus 108 to throw for 4,000 yards. That's insane. That's easy money. And then the other one that's easy money to me is Lamar Jackson is plus money to rush for 750 yards. That's easy money. Lamar Jackson has not ever rushed for less than 750 yards in a full season. He's rushed for that in 12 games in the 2 seasons he was injured. And in last year, with a more pass heavy offense, still hit it. He's also just over 800 yards away from the all time quarterback rushing yards record. I highly, highly doubt they stop running the ball if he gets close to that. So I just think with the record that close, plus money, I just think it's easy. But yes, there's four other legs in there: Brees Hall, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Terry McLaurin for 1,000 yards. I'm feeling good.
It's I will say just in the Lamar one in general, they must just be thinking Derrick Henry's just gonna come in and steal a lot of yards. Like, when's the last time the Ravens had really had a RB like that can be a bell cow and just like go and do it?
Yeah. I think Derrick Henry's going to steal more touchdowns than yards. I really do think I think that's really where it's going to be. It was the same. I think they're still going to run a similar system they ran last year with Gus Edwards, just with a whole lot more upside in Derrick Henry breaking off a big run. So that's really where I'm looking at that sort of thing. But that's I don't see Lamar not hitting this. I mean, he had 695 yards his rookie year in 7 starts, and last year 821, over 760 in 12 games in the 2 years before that. Like, I don't see him not hitting 750 with this close to the record.
All right. Yes, lots of future stuff from Glover. Glover's our futures guy. But Frosty, who anything I think you said you had a future, hey?
Yeah, so my it's a leg in your parlay. Mine was Josh Allen to hit 4,000 passing yards. His over under on passing yards this year is 3,800.
It's crazy.
He's gone over 4,200 the last four straight seasons. A
I
500-yard cushion from last year they're giving him. I can't see them abandoning his arm like that all season long. I get they want to put James Cook more involved in the offense, and I think they will, but 3,800 just seems that's way too low.
it was the first leg I placed in this because it just seems crazy to me. Like, I get that he's got a worse receiving room, but it's not that much worse. He had a great bond with Khalil Shakir at the end of last year. James Cook's going to be getting involved in the pass game. Dalton Kincaid breaking out, Keon Coleman. Like, there's a lot of great pieces there that can work. And Josh Allen's got a cannon of an arm. Like,
Yeah, they must be thinking the combination of the lessing receiver core, like it might not be, in your opinion, less than, that much less, but it still is worse than last year.
yeah,
Plus that the change in offense that happened mid last season allowed them to make the playoffs. Um, so that must be the combination they're thinking. And it's the one thing that would kill futures is the injuries, right? So like you're basically just banking on. I mean, Vegas loves when injuries come in. Unfortunately, that's just how the world works. But so that's always the risk when you're betting the future. But guys, I don't want this to be biased. But okay, it's definitely not biased, but if you're i- if you're looking to place an MVP bet and if you're looking for just somebody to get decent odds on, I do think CJ Stroud is a solid. I've bet on it. Is a solid case for MVP. He's 12 to 1 right now. That's tied for fourth. Um, uh, Patrick Mahomes is the favorite right now, plus 450. Josh Allen, despite having the lower numbers you guys said, is second with plus 800, and Joe Burrow is plus 1,000. And then he's tied with Hurts at plus 1,200. I mean, I've said it before, like the Texans could be the number one seed in the AFC, and I think if that happens, it's CJ Stroud takes another jump in what is going to be a fantastic offense, a pass heavy fantastic offense.
yeah. I I think it's not I mean, if I was you, I'd probably place that same bet because I want to root for him to win MVP all year. Like, that makes sense. Like, I do think that it's definitely possible, but I do think, yeah, number one seed in the AFC, it's gotta be a really good year. But with other teams maybe looking to focus more on the postseason and not put as much emphasis on the regular season, the door's open for the Texans.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I do see them taking another step this year. I see CJ Stroud taking another step this year. So I think that's a fully reasonable bet to make, especially at the odds that he has.
Yeah, plus 12 to 1, kind of low in my opinion, actually. But like I have so much money riding on just fantasy wise, like just money wise. Like I'll probably be betting on him constantly throughout the year as well. So you might be getting a Texans heavy props future going on, or just props each week going in general. But like it's I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, fellas. It's almost here. It's right around the corner. That's next for us. So after the conclusion of week one, we'll this is the plan. This is the content schedule. We're trying to do a recap of the week, best storylines, what do we see, craziest game, whatnot. And then we're gonna try to do these in a separate video as well, these fantasy slash betting. So I mean, I guess how does that sound, guys? That sound all right?
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
think we got through our goal is these episodes, this one should be coming out Thursday afternoon before the Thursday night football game. So these kind of episodes every week before Thursday night football. And we'll try and cut up some clips for some short form content if that's more your up your alley on TikTok and Instagram and whatnot. And then, after Tuesday afternoonish, an upload for the Monday after the Monday night football, recap in the week.
Hey,
But should be a good.
Follow the Hive Podcast Network on TikTok. We're on TikTok.
We're
Uh,
trying to get that going. We're trying to get it going. We've been a little inconsistent, but I think now the season's going, I think it'll be good.
all right. Any final thoughts for us? Are you just ready? Another year of Cowboys football.
Another year of Cowboys football. I,
You
I
seem
I'm
so
I'm excited
excited.
for another year of regular season Cowboys football.
Fair enough.
Real excited for that. I
I
absolutely dread the first game of the playoffs every single year now, but you never know.
I can relate to that in a way, but typically we get to the second game of the playoffs now. We've gotten past the first game elimination. We get to the second game and lose. So, but hey, Thursday night, which is actually gonna be tonight if you're watching this on Thursday, Ravens are running over the Chiefs, baby. Revenge game. I don't care. 400 passing yards, Derrick Henry 150 rushing yards. There we go. Let's go.
All right, there we go. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you really liked it, yeah, consider subscribing. It would help us grow the channel from all of us at the Hive Podcast Network. Thank you for watching, and of course, keep it buzzing.